2-2 on the week, just after a couple of days. What do you think of you guys' performance overall?
Up and down. I like the fact that we won our Pac-12 weekend. Going 2-3, 2 out of 3 on a weekend is really good. And I thought we played, we didn't play at our best on Friday night. And so to be able to come back and show resiliency, that's good. But that's 2 weeks in a row now where we haven't won on Friday. And that's going to need to change.
You guys had, I think it's 9 games in 14 days the prior 2 weeks. Just how nice is it to kind of get some days off during the midweek here before you pick up against Arizona?
I don't know. I mean, days off and stuff, I don't know. I don't play, and so days off don't mean much to me. They don't really exist.
Arizona's had a hard schedule early on in their season, had some good quality wins, whether I think it's 9 and 10 now. Just what have you seen from them so far through
they probably have some of the better starting pitching that we'll see and have seen. They've got 3 legitimate starters, and they've got plenty of different matchup pieces in their bullpen that, from a preparation standpoint, will probably be Coach Marker's probably biggest task of the year, because they do have so many different looks. They haven't gotten blown out of the gym when they've lost games. They've lost a lot of one-run games, and so they haven't been able probably to figure out how to win those games well enough, I bet, if you were in their locker room. At least that's what the stat sheet says. They played a good game last night versus Grand Canyon. I thought they played a complete game last night. And so there'll be a challenge for sure, especially with the starting pitching they'll roll after.
You mentioned Fridays, point of emphasis. What needs to be better on Fridays, and how do you want to go about kind of addressing what needs to improve on those Fridays to get the wins?
Well, I think the hitting needs to improve on Fridays. I think we need to chip away better at the Friday night starter, whoever that is. We're on the other side. This week it's a left-hander more than likely. When they announce the rotation, I'm sure they'll probably go with the same thing that they've been doing, assuming everybody's healthy. And then the other side of the ball is got to be, getting a better start on a Friday night. We've RJ started on Fridays for us so far this year, and the good news is his arm's back from being injured, his arm strength is back, and his stuff is back. But yet, he's going to need to show that he's pitching with that stuff better to be able to continue to stay in the Friday role.
Is he this weekend?
He is this weekend. Yeah, we'll stay with our same rotation this weekend. But, like I said, we're with some of the other guys that have pitched exceptionally well, there's options to be able to replace people in the rotation if they just continue to pitch at an average level. We need to increase, what we're seeing with productiveness out of our rotation for sure.
We talked a lot with you about Brock Moore and stretching him out into a starter. Do you see him getting that role, maybe if not this weekend, next?
Yeah, that's one of the guys. That's a good question. Brock has done very, very well with the bits that he's been given, and so he's definitely on that short list of guys that would be candidates. Him, Brad Mullen would be a guy, Logan Mercado would be a guy, just off the top of my head.
Would you want, in those hypothetical situations where like somebody's primary relief pitcher comes as a starter, you want them stretched out where they can go 4, 5, 6 innings, or would it be more like an opener, like a 2-3 inning role, and then have somebody come
Not into the opener concept. I think that's nonsense, to be honest with you. I think you do what you got to do to be able to maximize your players that you have. But this whole modern opener concept, I'm not a fan of. I think you either have a guy that can go out there. I think there's something to be said about having a real solid starting pitching staff. I think that's important. To have openers run out there for an inning to 3 innings, I don't think that's what it looks like. I don't think that's what it should be. I think you do have to have a mind, though, at times for what your personnel can do. Who can throw multiple times on a weekend is a really big factor. Because if you've got a bunch of guys on your staff that can't throw multiple times on a weekend, well then, that you're going to have to maximize their innings and their total in one of their outings, just because they're not probably going to have 2 outings. So, you kind of got to work backwards a little bit beforehand. I mean, in the old days, you'd have guys that would be throwing 3 times a weekend regularly. And now you've got a lot of guys that throw only once a weekend and might or might not be able to throw more than once a weekend. So those are all factors in making out the rotation.
We talked a long time ago, I think it was probably preseason, about set up closer, like 8th inning guy. Have you kind of come around, and it's been Logan a little bit recently as the closer, but have you come around with like a full 7, 8, 9 guy yet?
In order to be a 1-1-1 type deal where you got guys that are coming in and throwing the 7th, 8th, or 9th, and that's their job, they've got to be resilient enough to be able to pitch 3 times on a weekend. And I don't think we've got a bunch of personnel that are able to do that consistently. We've got a few, but we don't have guys that can do that. And so the traditional standpoint, 7, 8, 9, having a guy just be able to come out and throw 1 inning a day might not be what this club can do. And so we got to look for other ways to be able to do it.
Who are some of those guys right now that you trust to go out there 2, maybe even 3 times in a weekend?
I won't go into that too much. I think that's a little deep.
Is that something that you personally are comfortable with? Because I know you said preseason you're like, I want 7, 8, 9 guys. But if you guys just don't have that, is that still fine by you?
Yeah, you just need a fun formula to be able to win 2 or 3 every weekend in conference play, and then pull off a couple of sweeps. And if you do that, then they'll probably call you league champs.
In those spots where we've seen Logan start before, you mentioned Brock is someone who might potentially start, Brad has gone extended innings. How much of a value is that when you do need some extra innings up that bullpen?
Well, I mean, you got to play 27 innings. It doesn't really matter where they come from, right? And so, if you've got a starter that can get 6 or 7 innings, that really minimizes what the bullpen needs to do for those days. So it really comes down to learning your club. And we've got so many new faces on our roster. What can guys do? What can you expect them to do? And what can they not do? And so to expect them to do something they can't do is not wise coaching. Traditionally, like I said, you'd love to be able to have a guy that just gets rolled out there every single 7th, 8th, and 9th inning when you have a lead. But again, you have to have guys that can do that physically. And if they can't, then you can't have that setup. You got to look for something else. And so to have the guys that can throw extended periods, that's really, really big, especially when your starts haven't been lengthened out. Once your starts can get lengthened out, then you can just throw basically 2 guys in a game. You can do it that way as well. If you've got 6 arms that can go 4 or 5 innings each, that pretty much covers the 27 on the weekend.
When you talk about learning your club, how much do you feel like you're still learning about your club, and how much do you feel like each week you learn more about your club when you go through that?
Still learning, no doubt. I mean, every day you learn a little bit more about them. But it's just week by week. You're getting your arms around it more and more each day, the good and the bad. The defense is solidified. I think Drew Smith's done a really nice job going over to second base, and Carter at third, and Ryan Cooney at short. Maddox Maloney's waiting in the wings. He's done well with Jack Brooks. Those guys are good players. So I think those things have settled in. It's nice, and that's been a big progressive thing for our team.
We've talked to you out here by the football facility. You've mentioned your relationship with Dan Lanning. I'm curious, what's it been like working in the same athletic department as Dana Altman, seeing what he's done with this team year after year, exceeding expectations this season?
Coach Altman's tremendous, and he's not a guy that's out there, beating his chest on every chance. He's a very humble man. He's a man of principle. You go to his practices, and he treats his team fairly. He doesn't just stand there and berate guys. He gets on them and he coaches them hard, but it's fair and it's out of love, and he's a man of principle. I really respect Coach Altman. He'll tell you he doesn't have all the answers, but his teams traditionally have always played their best basketball at the end of the year, which is, in my opinion, a mark of a good coach. And Coach has clearly shown that he's a Hall of Fame coach. And so the only thing that saddened me was at the beginning of the year to hear people, some people, not all, the people in the know would never do it, but the people on the outside that were just true fans with maybe less information, when they would frown on Coach Altman or get down on something maybe with that man is probably out of line. He's too good for there to be any dissenting voice, in my opinion. He's just that upstanding of a man, a great X's and O's coach, and he's obviously got that locker room to where they're fighting and playing at their best going into the tournament, and now they've got a chance to win that thing. I'm happy for Coach and his staff.
We talked about Bryce getting spiked 2 weekends ago. Do you expect him back this weekend?
Haven't had practice this week yet due to finals, and so I'll know more after today. But we're anticipating it. We're hoping, yeah, because he's a good guy to have back in there.
Do you feel like Drew Smith did? I know he was kind of banged up last week, but obviously gets the starts, makes that play in the hole in I think game 3 or game 2. How do you think he did this past weekend?
Yeah, he made a play on the shortstop side of second base. It was unbelievable on a plus runner. Their leadoff hitter for Cal is a really good freshman player. Looks like he'll be a freshman All-American. He made that play, and he made it look pretty easy on the other side of second base on the shortstop side. He's a leader. He just brings a presence. And his hitting's been good. It hasn't been outstanding yet, but I think you could see that easily change this weekend. And, he just hasn't gotten hot yet. Pretty much other guys in the lineup have gone through getting hot, and then they may cool a little bit. I'd like to see Drew get hot, and I think he will.